Hello, my name is Nickolas Harris, and today I would like to talk to you guys about the power of one school year. Now, being an international school student can be tough sometimes. People come into your lives, they leave. By nature, international schools have very transient populations. Now, I knew this growing up because I attended an international school myself back in Tokyo. I can still remember at the end of 5th grade, one of my closest friends was Lawrence, and he abruptly left. I thought Lawrence and I were going to rock middle school together. But when 6th grade came around, he was in Sydney, and I was in Tokyo. Now, fast forward another 3 years later, I'm part of the 8th grade middle school soccer team. This team, at its core, had players like Brooks, Matt, Sammy. But that summer of 8th grade, Brooks moved to Texas, Matt moved to New York, and Sammy to Finland. The four of us never had the chance to play soccer together at the high school level. Now, these kind of stories are so common with us international school kids. People come into our lives, out. There's a lot of hellos, but there's also a lot of goodbyes. And it begs the question, can these relationships that exist sometimes for only a year or two be long-lasting? Well, I want to introduce to you guys my friend, Robin. We met the summer of 2004, my senior year. He was a new student from the United Kingdom, and immediately we became great friends. We played on the same soccer team together. We were in the same classes, like Mr. Buckler's AP Environmental Science class. We'd attend school trips together and go on school events like homecoming and prom in the same friend groups. When I look back at senior year, Robin was always there. Now, I want to fast forward a whole decade later. It's 2015. I'm in South Korea organizing my first MUN conference at a new school. And I was really keen on getting a guest speaker that had experience working with the United Nations. Robin came immediately to my mind. There was one issue. We didn't have a budget for a guest speaker. So I told Robin about this, and he said, no problem, I'll just fly to Korea. So he flew to Korea, crashed on my couch, and the following day, he delivered an exceptional opening speech at our first GC-MUN conference. Now, another 4 years later is 2019. He's once again delivering a speech, but this time at my wedding as one of my groomsmen. Now, I bring up this story of Robin to you guys today because I only knew Robin for one school year. Yet that one school year was so profound that it was enough for us to build a strong friendship that has now lasted for over 2 decades. Now, the other person I would like to talk about today is my high school history teacher 23 years ago, Bapi Ghosh. Now, in the 10th grade, there were a lot of classes we didn't like back at AISR, but one class we all loved was Bapi's class. He made learning fun. He often connected history to his own life, and he just made it such an exciting subject for all of us. But there's one thing that stuck with me the most about Bapi, and that was his classroom. His classroom was warm. It was a place where students felt like they were seen and they were heard. In fact, Bapi left such a strong impact on me that later in my career, I decided to become a teacher because of him. I wanted to make a classroom like he had, one where students felt welcome and seen and enjoyed learning. As I was making this TED Talk, I had this realization, how different schools are from corporations when it comes to creating bonds and lasting memories. I know this because I was a consultant before becoming a teacher. In the corporate world, you have the annual Christmas party, maybe some softball sessions with some barbecue. You could share a cubicle with someone for 4 to 5 years, but you might not really get to know them. They go back to their families on the weekends. But I had this realization at schools, you guys see each other every day. You work in group projects together. You fail together, you succeed together. There's so many opportunities to create bonds and friendships. Not only in the classroom, but outside the classroom. At a place like AISR, you have sports teams. You have MUN. You have theater. Some of these groups even travel to places like Dubai, Doha, Egypt. These are the things that you'll remember 20 years from now and help create strong bonds. And I know this firsthand because I had my own 20-year reunion just 4 months ago. We didn't talk about whether we had a B or a B plus. in our grade 10 English class, we didn't talk about what questions came up on the final exams for AP statistics. What we did talk about were things like Battle of the Bands and watching Nate and Gino and Brian rock in front of 200 of their peers. We talked about that tournament in Hong Kong back in 2004, where Shanghai American School eliminated us in the semifinals. We talked about that trip to Okinawa with our Japan seminar class with Mrs. Krauth, where we got to see World War II sites and speak to World War II survivors firsthand. These are the bonds that we created 20 years ago, and the bonds that still stick, the bonds that still are alive today. Now, as I wrap up this TED Talk, for those in the audience or on YouTube, or watching on YouTube, who are students, what I would say to you is this. You might be at your international school for a year, 2 years. Maybe you have a friend who's leaving at the end of this year. But don't be discouraged, because 1 year can be enough to be that person's Robin. And for educators in the audience or watching on YouTube, you might teach a student for just 1 year. You might coach them for maybe just one season. But keep in mind, that can be enough to become their Boppy. I myself will be leaving here at the end of this semester. And I know that feels like not a long time, but I know in the following semester that we'll make plenty of new memories and hopefully bonds that will last for a lifetime. And this is because I know the power of one school year. Thank you.